to put you, Mac, on the spot for this one.
Dun, dun, dun!
Jean-Paul Lazure, again, apologies if I'm mispronouncing, asked us...
Bring him up full screen.
What were...
If you can, if not.
Zoom in on his
Zoom in
nose,
on his nose.
What were the kilts of some of the New York regiments that were wearing them during the Civil War? Secondly, since they wore kilts then, why is New York one of the only states without an official tartan now? So you could basically talk about the official state tartans, but Mac, can you tell us about kilts during the Civil War?
Yeah,
So,
Mac.
The famous New York kilt.
Well, it's definitely in the reenacting community. It's a big thing where people tend to want to romanticize the kilt and bring it out more than what it actually was worn, which in combat situation wasn't worn at all. I think who he's referring to is the 79th New York Militia, which is they wore Cameron of Rocked tartan. And from the notes from the New York Historical Society, it was actually box pleated with buckle closures, and it had a cloth waistband around, which you see a lot of military kilts throughout War I, War II. You'll see that style, but they were only worn once in a parade in New York. After they got their enlistment and got their marching papers to move towards Washington. So by the time on their march from New York to Washington, as they were heading to Manassas, they ended up switching over to sky blue trousers and into their regular U.S. enlisted equipment and uniforms. But they were able to hang on to their jackets. Now, what was the name? James Cameron was the one who... He was actually the brother of Simon Cameron, who was President Lincoln's secretary. He's the one who helped raise the money for these uniforms. They weren't. New York Militia wasn't happy with them getting these uniforms, so they put the kibosh on it. And Cameron said, "Nope, he's going to do it anyway." Ordered the material. Material got there. They were made into kilts and worn once. And then got sky blues, but they were actually able to keep the jackets. There is some documents that's debatable if they wore the trews or not. There may have been some that went through, but not many. The only account of anybody wearing a kilt past this was a lieutenant, I believe, who... during the march, decided to go foraging and fell over a pig pen, which exposed his rear to the men, and the men made fun of him, to the point the next morning he woke up and outside of his tent was a hog's head. So he...
Ouch.
Poor pig.
Yeah, so he did not... After that, he showed up to formation in his regulation trousers. So that is as far as the kilt has made it into Civil War combat. But their jackets, their cutaway jackets, which they had, did last through until they got reissued the sack coats. But as far as in Civil War, that's about it. You see early militias with some things. There was an Illinois unit who wore Glengarries, but other than that, as far as kilts, not much.
So it's in the same vein as the Zouave type uniforms that some of the militias and units had, because they were raised locally and funded locally, and it was the romantic thing to do before you had to actually go into serious situations.
But then you have the whole thing with the Zouave uniforms then become more of an honor thing, where would be after they did something heroic on the field or they did something that was importance. Then they got the Zouave uniforms, which is the big baggy trousers, which are usually brightly colored. It's modeled after the French uniform. You see a lot of those uniforms during War I with the French as well. So,
but the kilts never actually saw combat.
Never saw combat.
Okay. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Indeed.
Now there are tartans for Civil War enthusiasts modernly. There is a federal memorial tartan and a Confederate memorial tartan. They were never used in period. They're modern inventions, but it's a nice way of showing your interest in heritage, in the topic. I could see wearing it to an event, but I wouldn't wear it with a uniform. You know,
Another
because they
great
never
way?
because they didn't exist. They didn't.
Another great way?
Huh?
Boxwood in your Glengarry.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Mac. We'll do that one another time. All right.
Do you get points if you know what he's referring? If you know what you guys are referring to?
It's a thing.
It's a thing?
It shouldn't be a thing. It's a thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
It's a Civil War thing, right, Mac? Or is it Rev War?
It's Civil War, but it's something.
It's
a
a thing.
it's a thing.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Again, Google misinformation about boxwood being worn in your hat in battle during the Civil War. There you go.